So we'll just get started then by, I know you've met some of the folks in the group, but if you want to just kind of give us a who you are and what you do, get started.
Yeah, sure. My name is Bethany Howard. I live in Clinton, Connecticut, which is on the shoreline. We've been here almost 3 years. I have a husband, three teenagers, and two dogs, a cat, two snakes, and a guinea pig. Yeah. So obviously I take care of mostly the dogs and the kids take care of the guinea pig and the snakes. But my dad has said that if somebody asks if there's a zoo in Clinton, Connecticut, he's going to say yes. And it's at my house, which it makes sense. Like it's appropriate. It's appropriate. Even if we didn't have animals, this is where the zoo is.
Right.
I I write and I do some social media management as well. Those are writing is my main creative outlet. Even though I have not been practicing writing in the last few months. But it is like today, somebody asked me at the gym, "Oh, what do you do?" And I was like, I write." I'm like, just say it. It's okay to just say it.
That's right.
That's right. I
Okay.
write mostly poetry. Um, I call it accessible poetry. It's not like, I mean, there's probably hidden meanings, but I'm not like using metaphors so much that you don't know what I'm talking about. I can get lost in the metaphors sometimes. So I try to just put it right out there, whatever it is I'm trying to say. At least in my mind, that's what I'm doing. So there are some people that probably can't make sense of it, maybe, and that's fine. But yeah. Is that it? Is that all?
No, that's
Oh,
great.
I did self-publish a book. I forgot. That's something I should mention, I guess. I self-published a book in 2020. And it was a fantastic pandemic project. So yeah, I don't know if there will be a book two. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh, I love it. And it's a wonderful book. Such a wonderful
Thank
book.
you. Thank
Um,
you.
I have to say, I love your comment about not doing a lot of metaphors. Um, because I remember being in high school and like having to analyze writing and stuff, and they were always like, what do you think they mean by this? Why did they pick that? And I was like, maybe there were just three glasses on the table, and that's why they wrote three glasses. Like maybe it was just May. Like maybe there was no hidden meaning to this. It just
Yeah,
was. So
just was. It's just there.
I'm a
Oh, I love it.
I really I love writing that is very surface level, and then you get to find whatever meaning resonates for you without having to go, what on earth are they trying to tell me?
Yeah, I just I don't know that I'm like a terribly deep thinker when it comes to those kinds of things. I'm ruminate all the time. But when it comes to like writing, I don't like, I don't know. It doesn't come out like difficult or high level. So however it comes out on the page is how it comes out. And it tends to be that when I try to do a lot of editing, it kind of just gets to be a mess. So it's usually just kind of how it comes out. And then if I have to do too much to it, it's just kind of like it's nothing's happening with it.
I,
If
I
I
feel
have
you.
to like, cut and slice and paste this here and redo this, but I've also learned a little bit about editing and I do think there's a time and a place for it. Um, and like, if you're just writing for yourself, you just write. And I think most writing, it should be for you first. I
Agree.
don't know. What do you think?
I totally agree. And I have the same problem as you do. Like when I try to go back and edit writing, I go back and I'm like, Because I used to think that I needed to put more metaphor in it. Like I used to think that I had no metaphor and then realized that the entire thing is a metaphor. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I would go in and be like it feels, it's one thing if you read it and you think to yourself, oh, this could be better in this way, and you have
Yeah.
the idea comes to you, but to go back and be like, I'm going to rework this, like it becomes inauthentic. Like it feels very
Yeah.
forced, and it doesn't have the same flow and the same feel to it, because
Yeah.
it's like it's not coming from you anymore. It's coming from who you think you should be.
Oh, yeah. That's good. So you think you're writing this down. And I think too that I also think it depends who your audience is. As you were talking, I was like, yes, because my audience is mainly women, maybe mainly moms. Um, and like I mentioned to you earlier, I took the kids to an orthodontist appointment this morning that is actually tomorrow at 10 a.m., not today at 10 a.m. And like I'm writing for the person who's kind of in the same, maybe similar season as I am. And so if I want them to be able to resonate with what I'm writing, I have to just put it out there for them because we don't have time necessarily to sit down and read a poem and dissect it and pull it apart and try to decide what we want to get out of it. We need something that's going to be like, just lay it out in front of me. And I just need something to get through this next hour. That's what I need. And so I think it depends on who your audience is too. So that's very helpful for me. I'm glad we're having this conversation.
No, you're so right. The audience matters so much, because like I have sat down and tried to read books of poetry that I'm definitely not the intended audience for, because
Yeah.
I want poetry that like it just, I don't want to have to work for it. Like
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
maybe that's the wrong way to look at things, but like everything else feels so hard. Like you're always having to work for it, that if I'm going to sit down
Yeah.
and read poetry, I just want to like, I want it to like wash me in the feels and
Yeah. Yeah.
not have to sit there going, what did this say? Like this was just
Yeah.
a bunch of words, and like I got nothing out of it. Like just tell it
Yeah.
to me straight. Like,
Right. I mean, and I mean, and I know you would agree too that there's a time and a place to like broaden your horizons, whether you're walking into an art museum is maybe not your, first cup of tea or your favorite type of art, or, reading poetry that's not your favorite, or trying a new style of something if you're, working with clay, whatever the case might be. But like you're saying, there's a time and a place for that. And when you're looking for something to just help you get through the next hour, or when it's already been like a rough day or rough week, we don't have time for that right now, always in the season that we're in. There will be time for it, but maybe it's not now.
exactly, exactly. So I have to ask, for you, when did you start writing? Have you always been a writer, or is this something that you kind of discovered and came into?
I was thinking about that. I remember having a typewriter as like, I don't know, a 10 or a 12-year-old in my room. Um, I've always loved books. My dad was a pastor. He's not pastoring right now, but he had a huge study across the street, and just books galore. And he would, especially in the summers, he would pay me to read books. And I was like, this is a great gig. Like,
Yeah.
this is awesome. So I, to this day, like my computer is currently propped up with library books. Um, and so I've always been a reader, and a lot of times that goes hand in hand with writing. But yeah, I do remember um, writing a couple different things, like a little song, a couple songs here and there when I was young. And I remember, oh gosh, maybe it was when my husband and I were dating. So how many, 26-ish years ago. I remember like two things that I wrote. They were kind of like I wrote them as gifts. Like one was I think was for Father's Day from my dad, and one was from Antoine, I think, my husband. And so I feel like it was about that time that I was like, oh, like there's something here for me. Like this was a creative practice for me. I really enjoyed this. I had fun. But even prior to that, the degree program I did was mostly writing. There weren't tests. It was like write a paper at the end of the class. Um, so I was able to kind of dive right into the writing and kind of get really comfortable and enjoyed it. And I remember my professor asking me, he was like, so was it hard for you to write? And I was like, no, I wouldn't say. He was like, yeah, that was like, that's what I thought. So I've always kind of, yeah, remembered that and just like, and that's just how I write. Like if it's coming out easily, then okay, there's maybe something that can happen with it. But yeah, so not like forever, but and I have the little book that we did in 5th grade. I think everybody like wrote a story and drew pictures and then like published, we sewed little bind what is it called?
Binding?
Binding. We sewed it all together. So yeah, words have always been a huge part of my life and my creativity and even my play, I would say.
Oh, I love that. That's like the true measure of your zone of genius. Like it's always been a part of you and it's not hard and it's fulfilling and that's
Yeah. Yeah. And I wouldn't say it's always been easy though. There's definitely like this dry period now has been hard, and there's been other ones where I'm just like, just not feeling it. But then there's other ones where, I'm able to write, but I'm not a person that, I'm not a super disciplined person. Just to
same.
be straight up. So I am never going to be the person that sits down from 10 to 12 every day and writes. That's not how I work. Like if I remember like somebody saying, well, why don't you like do such and such and then and then you can have coffee. And I was like, not gonna do it. I'm just gonna get coffee when I want to get coffee. Like,
yeah, because I'm an adult and I realize that I can go get, yeah, I'm the same way. Like, no, you've
yeah.
got to do the thing that you're looking forward to after you exercise. And I'm like, no, I understand that I can just skip the exercise.
Yes,
I'm
exactly.
very smart like that.
Exactly. Yes.
Was there a point like where your writing and your focus um and everything shifted to this idea of permission granted? I know you mentioned, there you had your pandemic project with the book. Was that kind of the impetus for it, or were you growing leading up to that?
Yeah. Before I wrote the book, I was kind of writing with that tagline, permission granted, probably for a few years, 2 or 3 years, maybe. And I kind of landed on this form of the way that I write, the way it's just, there's not verses, it's not rhyming, it's just kind of like a free form kind of version of poetry. And I remember when I started playing around with that and I was, posting a few times a week, if not every day, on Facebook and Instagram. And I remember a fellow writer said to me, like, I love the way that you put this out there for me. She said, I didn't have to wade through 5, 6 paragraphs of stuff to get to what you're trying to give to me. You just laid it out there. And she said, I really, really like that. Not that I was like overly wordy previously, but I think I wrote more maybe in paragraph form. It was just really long. So it was kind of like a new form, a new way of writing for me. And I've kind of stuck with that ever since. And I think, and a lot of ever since then, probably they've just kept getting shorter and shorter, which is interesting. Like I really am typically I'm trying to capture a moment. Like if I could bottle it up and be able to go back to it again, that's usually what I'm trying to do in a piece.
I love that. Like a little time capsule of like, this
Yeah,
was just a brief instant in time. And now we put it in a little
yeah,
time capsule so you can revisit it.
yes, yes.
Ah, that's cool. That's
And not
cool.
all the ones in Permission Granted aren't completely that, but a lot of them are, and a lot of the others in that book are about encouraging women to be able to step into what they're made for and not wait for permission, not wait for an invitation. So I think too often in general we do that. We wait. And it's just partly as my personality, like waiting for somebody else to make a way. And so me just going ahead and self-publishing a book is completely like doing that. Like, no, I'm just gonna, this is what I want to do. And people in my writing mastermind group at the time were putting together like more like an educational thing and making oh, what are they called? Like, I can't think of the word I want, but lessons for lack of a better word. And here's lesson one and here's two. And I'm like, that is not me. I'm not the teacher. That's not me. Because I mean, half the time I'm just winging it. People like I don't have a step 1, 2, 3 for anything. So when I mentioned, okay, what about if I put together a book? And my mentor was like, yes. And I want to be able to hold it, Bethany. I want to have it in my hands and be able to interact with it. And I was like, oh, okay. So I want to say that was like April or May. And then by December, it was in the world.
Wow, that fast?
I think so. I think that was all the same year. Yeah.
I mean, it is hard to know during the pandemic if it was all the same year or not, because it was
Okay,
like
thank you.
2 years that were all 1 month and all 1 week.
Yes,
I
exactly
don't
that. I was
know.
like, hey, and it's yeah, I've gotten confused about this before with the timing. So because it
You
was
know, I
weird,
think
it was strange
it must
time.
have been though, because I knew you before you moved.
Yeah, before I moved here.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I met you because Tracy got me your book.
I
So
love that.
I know. I was like,
Thank you,
Tracy,
Tracy.
she has connected to me. She has connected me to like all of my favorite people. She's my
That's
favorite.
amazing. She's
But
amazing.
yes. So yeah, I think you're probably right that it was all the same year then.
Yeah,
Because
yeah. It was
that's
crazy. And I did not do it on my own. I had my friend, the fantabulous designer, Rebecca Sam Sutton, she was the one that had done my logo. And so when I had this idea, she designed several different things for me, my stickers and that kind of thing. And so I came to her with this idea and she's like, I want to be involved in this project. And so she helped with the formatting and the graphic design and the cover. She did all of that. And I also hired an editor who was also a friend, um, even though it was poetry, because she's like, poetry is a little bit different, you know. I'm not
Mhm.
gonna like, oh, I don't know about this word choice here.
Right.
But she picked everything else apart. And you know, there's still mistakes. That just happens. Just read a book the other day that had first instead of fifth. It happens.
Yes.
Um, every book has at least one, if not multiple
Yes.
mistakes. But we did our best to make sure that there were no mistakes in there. Um, so, and the hardest part of that whole journey for me was buying the ISBN number
Mm.
because it meant saying that this was happening. It meant saying that I have a book. It meant all of those things. And I just couldn't I couldn't do it. I sat on it for probably 3 weeks. And my husband would be like, "Hey, did you buy the Isbin?" No,
Nope, it's just scary.
I can't do it. I didn't do it yet. Um, so that was the hardest part of it. But what I say about that time is that I was in over my head and having the time of my life at the same time. And I did not think that was a possible thing. I didn't think it was a possibility, but I learned that it was true, that you can be like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm figuring it out as I go. And I'm also having a blast.
What did you like aside from that? Because that is a huge thing. Like to be able to go, I don't have to know it all ahead of time. I can just, I can learn it as I go and it's okay. I'm like, I know that you had the privilege of the safety of having, your husband there and it wasn't like,
Yes.
okay, well, if this all implodes, I
Right.
ruined everything. Like
Yeah.
there is that level of privilege that I think
Huge level.
frees us so much on that.
Yeah.
But what what other kinds of things did you learn about yourself in this process? Because even with that level of privilege, that is still a seriously daunting process that also requires embracing yourself in a whole different light.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. And I am glad that you brought that up because, yeah, it's self-publishing, and especially the way that I did it was not like the cheapest option. Okay, let's just be real. Because I wanted it to be, oh, it's right here. I wanted it to be pretty and have a nice cover and, have nice paper to write on. And Amazon just doesn't do that for you. So I was like, well, I guess, if I'm going to do this, I want to do it this way. And so we made it happen. But no, it was not the cheapest option by any stretch. Um, and I think even just that was hard for me, honestly, was just the like, okay, like, what if these all just sit in the boxes, like in the house, and what if nothing comes of them? And it was, I don't know if people who are watching this know the Enneagram, but it has helped me understand myself. And I'm an Enneagram 9. And Enneagram 9s, well, they're known as the sloth, if that tells you anything. Um, so looking back, I still can't believe that this exists. That I was, and again, I didn't do it on my own. My husband was there. I had friends, and I had a lot of encouragement. But still, no one was making me make it happen. And so the fact that me as a 9 who hesitates, who avoids decisions at times, who can just sit in inertia very, very easily. The fact that it exists, I still don't completely know how that happened because it is not my strength. I'm not like, I have times where I'm like, boom, let's get something done. But in general, that's not my strong suit. It's more my husband. And so there were definitely times, like when we would talk about the budget and money and like, okay, he's like, and that was with the Isbin. He's like, Bethany, we've already talked about this. We've already got it covered. It's the money is there. Like, what are we waiting on, dear? So yeah, so I definitely, and it's good for me to remember because there's definitely times still now, right, where I'm just like, oh, I can't do that. That's too much. I can't figure that out. I don't know how to do that. And so I think as we get older, we do get wiser. We get to know ourselves a bit better. And there's definitely I can, like, even just recently, I started doing some social media in October for this, and I just saw a need, and I saw the shop that I love, and I could see that they needed maybe some help with social media. So I put together like a one sheet and some sample graphics, and I just walked in. I said, "Hi, here's what I could do. And he was like, yes,
Mhm.
please, let's make this happen. Um, the fact that I did that is bizarre to me. If you'd asked me like, 5 years ago, I would have thought you crazy. But that's that's what I did. So I do see like there are different things I can point to and say, oh, okay, well there that is. But I
Mhm.
feel like maybe in some ways in my creative world and work, maybe I've stepped back a little bit.
What did you feel like the book, and I mean, did you write all of those poems specifically for the book? Or did you have like, oh, I have all these poems, I should just compile them into a book?
Yeah, I did. I did have maybe 70, 75% of them. I kind of, culled through my blog and through social media and kind of looked to see like which ones people resonated with the most and which ones I loved the most. And I remember that summer, what was it? I think the kids had acting class. I think that's what it was. They had acting class and um, they, well, now I'm wondering if I had the time zone again in years. Anyways, but so I would have a chunk of time, and what I did was I just pulled a table into the middle of the living room and I printed out all of the pieces and I taped them up all across the wall in front of me. And I moved them around to try to get to order. Like I wanted to kind of take people on a little bit of a journey. And so some of them I was like, I just had a pen and would exit out or take it down if I thought, no, it's not strong enough or it doesn't do what I needed to do. So there were several that didn't make the cut, and then there were several new ones that I hadn't shared previously that were in the book. So it's kind of like a mix of both things, new and then also just pulling from what I already had written.
Did that process like change how you looked at your future writing and what you were doing?
As as far as how I like put them up on the wall, or
Yeah, just the process of going like, okay, now I want these all to go together and take them on this journey and to have some form of continuity through it so they all fit together. Did that did that affect how your future writing went?
no.
I love that. No.
No, because I do tend to write from inspiration. And so it doesn't, I think there are different ones. Like I could do a book and have a section of like nature, have a section that take up your space, have a section that um maybe about my kids or something, about being a parent. So there's definitely, they do tend to fall in like several categories, but I do like the idea of, and that was something that in the deconstruction session that I was in yesterday or the other day, um, that was making me think of different ways of writing, in that like maybe a project would be good where it would be something that I'm writing towards or through, instead of simply writing from inspiration when the well is dry and life is just too much, this is too hard, there's just too much going on,
Right.
in order to be able to be just sit down and like be vulnerable on the page. um, so I think writing from a project, or like using prompts or something like that. um, you and your husband both had some great ideas that I wrote down. um, so I think yeah, I think that's something that I want to explore a little bit. Because I don't know if painting is if it's different, if it's, I mean, I'm sure everybody has similar like blocks, or when you can't write, or maybe you can't paint. But yeah, for writing, for me, because it tends to be like a vulnerable place, I don't know, it's just been hard, I guess, to go there, and I just haven't felt like it.
Yeah.
I just haven't. So
Well, it
but
definitely takes energy to do that. Like,
yeah, it does. It takes a lot of energy to do that. But it's much the same as how I'm feeling about live music in my life. And that is that last year, towards the end of the year, I realized that there's no evidence in my life that I love live music. So I decided that had to change. So far I'm doing pretty good. I have a concert coming up in a couple of weeks. I went to one in December. I was supposed to go to one in January, but that didn't happen, and that's okay. Today I had the thought that on our way home from the orthodontist appointment, that wasn't the orthodontist appointment, it was just a drive. The kids and I were just singing at the top of our lungs, and I was like, well, maybe that was my live music for the month. And if that's the case, that was fabulous. That was that made my heart so happy. It was so great. So I kind of lost the thread of what we were talking about. I think we were talking about like how I'm writing, and what, that it's hard and that it's okay. But so what I was trying to get to was that I think if I want to feel authentic when I say that I'm a writer, when I say that I write. So I do need to sit down and write, or just make time for it. And I mean, the other thing that's true about writing is when you sit down to write, there's no guarantee what you're going to get. You may like, I can just like on a page and have a phrase that maybe there's something that I could do with. And I think sometimes I have to remind myself, like, again and again and again, that that's okay, that that's the nature of writing. You're not gonna, I was listening to your husband's interview, and how he was just like, well, there might be a part of a song that I like, that I really like, oh, I really like that, but not everything. Like, it's not all my favorite songs, and I'm like, oh, that's like good to know. That's good to know. So yeah, I think I'm excited about like playing with writing and like doing it differently than I've been doing it. So maybe like, changing up the paintbrushes for somebody who's a painting or a painter. Yeah, I'm excited to see what it looks like to write with a different process, or maybe like give myself a project instead of just waiting for inspiration, or just going ahead and saying, hey, it's okay that three teenagers takes up just about all of you. That's okay. That's okay. It just is what it is. And this is, I want to be able to be the person that's here and be there for them. But I have to find a way to write in this season that I'm in.
Yeah. And, I think, especially as somebody who does everything from inspiration also, like, this is something that Daniel and I talk about a lot, because he does not work strictly from inspiration. Like, he laughs at me, because I always used to think that composers would like hear the thing in their head and then go write it down. Like, I thought that was how music composition worked. And he was like, no. Well, that's how I write. That's how I art. Like, that's how I do everything. There's inspiration. Like, the words come in my head and I repeat them until I can write them down. The image or whatever, the very fuzzy concept for art comes into my head, and then I go play with it until something happens. But like, we've talked about this because I think that when you create from inspiration, while it's magical, it also opens you up to expectation of perfectionism. Like you expect, like, because it is so magical
Yeah.
and this inspiration is like transformative for you, and you're like, it's going to be this way for other people. And then when you sit down
Mm.
and try to give yourself some kind of a schedule, whatever, and you're like, I'm going to sit down and write, even though I have no inspiration, then you're disappointed by what comes out because
Yeah.
you're holding it to this unattainable level.
Yeah.
And
That makes so much sense.
yeah, and Daniel's like, stop doing that. You're setting yourself up for failure. Like you're gonna be disappointed in what you generate because you're trying to only generate magic. Like you've
And that
got
just
to,
completely goes against the definition of magic.
right?
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Yeah, like, oh, that makes a lot of sense.
A lot of sense.
So,
Yeah, that's interesting.
and I think also the fact that um, the hard times creating things, when we're in a dry spell or we're creating things that we're not happy with, anything like that, I think like intellectually, I think there's a lot of growth happening in those times when
Yeah.
we're just kind of sitting. And like,
Yeah.
not because we're lazy, not because we're, actively being stagnant, but because things are stuck, like that pressure is building, like stuff's
Mm-hmm.
working in there, it's just not coming out. But I think that is where, and so then the first things we create after we come through to the other side are probably going to
Mm.
be kind of ugly because we are into a new level. And so it's that comfort that you get like through a daily process of not making magic that makes you comfortable with the ugly
Yeah.
art, the
Yep.
blah words, whatever, so that when you're going through those growth pains and coming through to
Yeah.
the other side and exploring new things, you're like, okay, this didn't work, but this is what I see. And you can look at it objectively instead of going, so ugly, I'm bad at this.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, instead of just like it's all terrible. There's nothing good here. Like it's okay if that's the case. Like you're right. Like it's the pressure to try to like create magic every time you sit down at the computer is I mean, that's just going to kill any creativity right then and there before you even start.
Exactly. Exactly. And like when you're doing things and say you're like, this is always one of my big things. I struggle at knowing what I like. I'm really good at being able to say
Mm.
I don't like that, but I have a hard time when I like something understanding why. It's usually a very like visceral thing. I'm like, I look at art and I'm like, I don't know, I want to touch it.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to hug it. Like, or I listen to words and it gave me the feels. I had the
Yep.
chills and I cried. I don't know what it was about, if it was the rhythm, if it was the metaphor, if it was the word, I don't know. It just, how it all came together made me respond.
Yeah.
So because of that, I'm finding that I grow best when I make stuff I don't like, so that I
Hmm.
can just go, I don't like this.
Hmm.
And
Like
because
you're
it's
helping
easier,
yourself figure out.
yes. And it's easier for me to go, I don't like the rhythm of this. I don't like how this repeated. It's easier for me to identify the dislikes than the
Hmm.
likes.
That's good.
So I think you have to get comfortable with making the ugly to be able
Yeah.
to do that.
It's so true. I don't know why we do that to ourselves, why we, try to say that everything we do has to be like beautiful, or and I think it's something the way our culture works, where like every minute has like some sort of value
Yes.
monetarily for
Yes.
something. And I think it's a challenge to be able to just sit down, and it's a privilege to sit down, to be able to sit down for 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, to sit down and just play with words and ideas and thoughts. And yeah, but it's ridiculous to think that everything I write is going to be like publishable or like the best thing I've ever written. It's yeah, there's nothing good could come of that if I'm going into it that way. So that's probably another. I'm just gonna put something up on the window here, like, not in it for the magic or something along those lines. Not here to make magic.
Right. Well, and like the idea, when we look at the, our heroes, the artists, the writers that we love, like, well, they didn't publish their bad stuff. It's not that their bad
Exactly.
stuff didn't exist. We just don't see it. The ugly
Yeah.
Van Goghs, they're not in museums. Like, it's not
Yeah.
that they didn't exist.
It's so
They just,
true. It's so true. And it's also fascinating to me. This artist that I really like, that I actually got to see in December, Emily King, she recently shared on her Instagram, and it's like the beginnings of the songs that I love. So it was her just like, dun, dun, dun. Like she's just humming the melody and like playing with the melody. And it's just like a recording on her phone, a voice recording. Like that's it. Like that's how the song begins. There's nothing much to it, right? And it's all of the hours of meetings and figuring out, okay, what instrument do we need and who's doing this and what's doing that. And but it was just like fascinating to remember, like, all of the things begin that way.
exactly.
It's not pretty, it's not well packaged, it's not like on the page ready to go, ready to be recorded. That's not how it works.
Yeah, like visual artists. I love looking at their thumbnails. Their little like concept sketches that they make. They're so ugly. They're so just like, I mean, my thumbnails just have stick people. And other people who have more experience with thumbnails, it's not stick people, but it's still just very rough, like gestures and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, it all starts ugly. And that's
Yeah.
fine. Like
Yeah.
that's where it needs to start. And then it grows from there. And why we think that it's got to start at perfection. Got to start somewhere that I want to show this to everybody. I think it's social media.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
most people only share their good. Like, here's the thing I
Mm-hmm.
did that I'm really proud of. Here's my success. Like, had a
That's
conversation with Devin about this the other day when I found out that I wasn't accepted for that solo exhibition, and I was really bummed about it. And she's like, you got to remember, especially because it was, the day before New Year's Eve. She's like, this time of year, especially, people are only sharing their wins. Like, you're
Oh yeah.
comparing your secret to everybody else's public, and
Mm.
it's not the same. So it's like, yeah, you're quite
Yep.
right. And we've got to start somewhere. Just like you
Yeah.
got to start by saying, screw it, I can do it, and publishing your own book. And you like, that's amazing. That is such an amazing undertaking.
Yeah, it was. I would totally do it again. It was fun. Like I loved the collaboration parts of it. I loved the parts that were just up to me. And I did love, again, for somebody who is not like an Enneagram 3, they love a project. They love to be fighting for something new. They're like, what else can I check off? Like, this is my bucket list. Da, 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 da. Yeah, the fact that I did enjoy the stuff that was just up to me. And I loved the control that I had, that I could say, this is the cover of my book. This is the title of my book. This is how it will be formatted. Like, it was crazy to be able to make all of those decisions that were just up to me. And it was quite a project. Yeah, and it was about the, like, I don't, not having to wait for traditional publishing, or, because that may never happen. I mean, I don't have plans for that to happen. I'm not writing towards that end right now. But that doesn't mean that there can't be a book with my name on it.
Exactly.
And the good news is I have a handful left. They're almost all gone.
That's awesome.
So that's
Will
the
you
good
buy
news.
more?
I don't know. It's possible. Maybe I do like a second edition, or add a few more or something. I don't know.
So I know you've mentioned probably not another book, or at least nothing in your head right now. Do you have any other goals or projects, not that you're trying to do right now, but that you're just like, I'd really like to one day work toward that. Maybe when you don't have 3 teenagers, taking all your time.
Well, I still want to make some submissions and get published, whether that's online or whether it's in a magazine. I have a due date coming up for something that Mutter magazine, Mutter. It's in the UK. So I have no idea if they take people outside of the UK. I don't remember seeing anything about that. So a friend and I are planning to submit to that. So I'm definitely, still looking for opportunities. And I think that will help me kind of get out of neutral, to be able to have some things to work towards. So yeah, right now that's what I'm working on. I would like to start posting on Instagram again at some point, but here's the thing, I don't miss it. I'm just gonna be honest. I miss you, and I miss the people, that I have like conversations with, but that still happens if I'm not posting on Instagram. So I think I don't miss like the pressure of, oh, okay, you got to get on there and say something great, right?
Yeah.
I don't miss that at all. I do miss connecting with people for sure. But I don't miss like feeling like I have to make something happen in order to post something. Again, it's I do feel like my words and my art, that there's a place for it. And it does make me sad to think that maybe there's something that I could have shared that somebody could have, that it could have helped them get through a rough day or something. That's what I think about, because I know that the book has done that. I've heard, a few stories from people. So that's the reason I want to get back to it.
Yeah,
That would be why.
I feel that, like, I definitely, if you think about the business side of Instagram, if you're thinking about like, well, I need to have a posting schedule, and then I need to be able to get the reach, and I need to post this so that people will see it, it feels like work. And what a privileged thing to say. Like, but
I hear you though.
Like, I don't want it to feel like work. This is art. Art should not, I don't want my art to feel like work, because I am a firm believer. I'm a firm believer that we are doing society wrong, and that what we should be doing, we should be living in a community where, the creators, their job is to create beauty, to tell stories, to, keep the history and everything. And that the people who like to talk to people should be talking to people. The people who like to work with their hands should be building the stuff. Like, there's just,
Yeah.
Everybody has their own interests, and people should not be doing the things that they don't like doing. Like,
Yeah.
we should not have to do that. So I'm like, no, I shouldn't have to worry about what my reach is and how many followers I have. And I, so when I post, and I have given myself a schedule, a posting schedule, because I am a little bit time blind. Like,
Mm,
months
same.
will go by and I don't know.
Yeah.
So, and then I'll be like, I haven't talked to anybody in like forever. And I just won't have noticed. And then all of a sudden I'll be like, I'm feeling really lonely. Why is that? Oh, because I don't talk to anybody. So I use my posting schedule as a tool for the relationship.
Mm,
But
I
I
love that.
don't like, I'm making sure like I don't care about,
Hmm.
hashtags. I don't care about reach. I am giving myself a schedule just because then I might actually stick to it. And because I'm a
Yeah.
rebel in my four tendencies, um,
Uh-huh.
and a self-diagnosed ADHD.
Hmm.
I have a friend who was like, I don't believe that you can stick to a schedule because you have ADHD. And this is perfect though, because I was like, I'll prove you wrong. And so she comes back to me, she's like, I see you did it last month. I don't think you can do it another month. And I'm like, I'm gonna prove you wrong.
I
So
love it.
by design, I'm like, yes, I do have a friend who comes out of the woodwork once a month to tell me that she doesn't believe that I can do it.
Hey, I
Because
feel like I can she kick me in the butt too, maybe?
yeah, I mean that if that's how it goes for you, because I was like, I
Yeah.
just I gotta prove people wrong. That is the quickest way to get me to do something is if I can prove you
Yep.
wrong.
I hear
So
you. And sometimes that's the same as proving myself wrong.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah,
Gotta
or
love that.
yeah. And that's the beauty of the Enneagrams and the four tendencies and stuff, to figure out like, okay, this is how I function. Like, because
Yeah.
I'm a four, I'm an Enneagram four. So I
Okay.
would like to just think all day and tell you all the wonderful things that I have thought of.
Yeah.
Who saw that coming, right? Like, I read that and I was like, oh yeah, that's me.
Yep.
That's
I
me.
love it. And
But
I love how, like you were saying earlier, um, people need to be able to work from what they love. And I think the same, which with the Enneagram, I don't think that like you don't get to just say, well, I'm a nine, just that's just me. Like we're supposed to have, right? We're supposed to be well-rounded people. And um and a webinar that I was in said, whatever health you are at your number, you should have access to that level of health and all the other numbers. So you're supposed to be like a well-rounded person. But I do think that we need all the numbers. Like there's not like we
right,
need the eights, we need the challengers, we need the fours, like we need the helpers, the twos, we need all of them. Just like we need all
absolutely.
of the workers to do all the things that they love.
Yeah. And there is a place for everyone. And
Yeah,
if we all just come
100%.
together and stop valuing certain ones over each other,
Yeah,
like that's how it happens. We come together and say, all of these things are valid.
yeah,
All of our strengths are valid. And yours can, should, may be different than mine.
hmm,
And that's the beauty of it. Like
it is.
being able to go, okay, and not look at the deficiencies as deficiencies. Like, I
Yeah.
am not an organized person. I do not do details at all. And I used to like I used to be very anal, but that was coping mechanism. That was my anxiety that allowed me to be
Uh,
very, very anal about things. But then when I started breathing instead of stressing,
hmm,
I realized I details are so hard for me.
hmm.
And that's and I'm like, but that's okay. They should be hard for somebody who lives in the big picture.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And I'm like, and I'm just as needed as the detail person,
Yes,
because otherwise they don't know what their detail is making. So it's like,
exactly.
that's, I mean, understanding that even if the capitalist world does not see our strengths, that they are there and
Yeah,
they're valid and
for
needed.
sure. And
But
yes, very much needed.
like, I mean, the world without, this is why my issue with Big Magic, where she's like, it's not like art's important. It's not neuroscience. And I was like, yo, this is
It
what
is
makes us
important.
human. Humanity, this
Agreed.
is what we live for. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Art
but
has
you know me.
always, I do, and I love it. I love what you bring to the world.
Likewise, likewise. But I know we're probably getting close to an hour. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about? Any
Um, I mean,
closing?
we could just sit and talk all day, but
Yes.
I can't think of anything that's coming to mind. Um, yeah, I just think it's great what you're doing to support artists and to give people a place to like to struggle and to be honest with that and to be able to reframe their art when it needs to be reframed and try things a different way. Um I think it's hard to find community like that. So I love that this space exists.
I'm so glad. Yeah, I mean, that was part of my whole thought behind it, was that in everything, there's no critique. Like this is not the place to come where you're going to be critiqued. Nobody is
Oh
ever
yeah.
gonna, because sometimes you just need a soft place. And
Yeah.
this is the soft place where you come when you're
I
like,
love that.
it hurts. And I don't want it to hurt anymore. Like, how do I get through this?
I
And
love that. I love it. A soft
but
place to land.
yes, I've learned that is my goal in most things, is I want to be everybody's soft place. And like, I
Hmm.
just just come. I will hug you, and like, life is too hard. Everybody needs a soft place.
I love that.
But
That's
well,
beautiful.
thank you so much for making the time to talk with me today. I
Yeah,
know that time is not something that you're just rolling in abundance over there. So I really appreciate it. And I super enjoyed talking to you. I always love talking to you.
I love to chat with you. Thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely. Well, I hope you have a wonderful day. And to anybody who watches the replay, Bethany's in the group. So if you have
Yeah,
questions or anything, you can get her there.
definitely. Please send any questions my way.
Love it. Okay. Well, you have a wonderful afternoon, Bethany.
Thanks. You too, Stephanie.
Bye.
Bye bye.